Oh, the sun's out. It's been raining for what feels like weeks and weeks and weeks. But today it's lovely and sunny, and to celebrate I've decided to chop a bit more off the chassis. This is the bit I'm going to take off then. This is a replacement rear cross member, and it was the last bit of work that was done to this vehicle before it was parked up and had a good long rest for the best part of the decade. Now, it's not because I'm unhappy with the fitment of the rear cross member, but what's occurred to me is that if I take it off, I'll have much better access for blasting the inside of these sections here, well, most of the way down, with the shot blasting equipment. So one of the things I've discovered recently that I didn't know before, and to be honest, I'm not that genned up on what I would consider to be a modern Land Rover. Most of my experience with Land Rovers is on Series 2. This is Series 3, and the point I'm trying to get to is that this chassis has been painted on the inside. Now, the earlier chassis weren't. They were just spray painted from the outside. These later chassis are dipped in paint, so there's not much paint on the inside, certainly not after decades of water being on the inside there, but there is some, and I'm going to need to get as much off as I can before this goes to the galvanising plant. So at the galvanisers, they'll dip it in a big tank of caustic stuff, and that'll act as a degreaser. Then they rinse it, take it out of there, then it's dipped in a tank of hydrochloric acid, and that will dissolve any rust that remains on it. Then it's taken out there, rinsed, dipped in flux, and then it's dipped in molten zinc. But if there's any substantial rust or lots of paint on the inside, those processes won't get rid of that, so that's up to me to sort out. The other bit I want to take off is this gearbox cross member here, which I want to make detachable in the sense that it can bolt on and off, but more on that in a bit. It's nice and sunny, as I said, which means plenty of solar power, which means I can use the big grinder for a bit. What I'm going to try and do is open up these weld seams without cutting into the chassis. Well, try and avoid cutting into the chassis as much as possible. So, let's see how it goes. You can see here the paint on the inside. It's only a very thin layer, but it was seeing that on the dumb irons that I chopped off that persuaded me to cut off this rear cross member and then try and blast all the way inside. But that doesn't look too bad, bearing in mind of course that we are upside down at the moment. Yeah, not too bad. A lot of crap in there, but that'll be sluiced out when we get the shot blasting done. I must say a big thank you to one of my patrons for reminding me about this. Thank you, Richard. What I'm going to do now is cut off this cross member here. This is the cross member that the gearbox would normally sit on, and on military Land Rovers and on later Defender type Land Rovers, this is removable. You unbolt it to get the gearbox out from underneath. With it welded in place like this, to get the gearbox out you have to take out loads of the interior of the vehicle and then squeeze the gearbox out through the passenger door. It's a bit of a faff. So to potentially make life easier in the future, I'm going to cut this off and then I'm going to make up some brackets for it so that it bolts back in as it is here. It's a pretty simple, straightforward process. I'm not going to do it all today, but today I'm just going to cut it off. So I'm going to cut through here in line with the inner part of the chassis there. And you can tell it's not that precise because I'm marking it with a bit of chalk rather than a scribe. And this. It's just certainly a much easier job doing this with the chassis upside down than it would be. Normally this would be horrible. Good progress. The sun is going down now. That's the end of the solar power for the day. Yes, happy with that. And it's getting lighter and lighter to move, so that's nice to see. Okay, let's tidy up.